Joe, it was reported about Colin Cowherd, who anything that goes on the West Coast and Colin Cowherd is involved, I'm going to take what he says to the bank. What he said last Wednesday did come to pass. Nico Iamaleava is going to UCLA. Joe, I got to start off with this, man. They came out, the Nico Iamaleava camp came out and said the reason that they're going to UCLA is because of how badly orchestrated the Tennessee offense was. And then you decide to go to UCLA. You wanted $4 million, and then you're going to UCLA. No, I don't buy any of that. I don't think that the kid progressed this spring. They were putting a lot more on his plate, and he didn't get better. It got too much for him, and he bailed. Because I really don't, and they tried to shop him. I really think the disconnect happened because they thought he would take a next step. I have been told, okay, that they were shopping him in the fall period, just like Josh Tate reported. So, I mean, and I know that our good friend Ryan Roberts put the piece out. It was by the way, fantastic beach read. Okay, this is where I read it. But, Joe, all of this, I guess, to you, how do you, when you look at all this, how do you react to him going to UCLA and everything that's transpired since Wednesday?
So first of all, again, credit to Ryan for that piece he put out. I spoke to Ryan on the phone before he published that piece, and it provided a lot of eye-opening context. And I think the craziest part about it, as soon as that article came out, a lot of very well-known, well-respected individuals across, like former athletes, Will Compton was one of them, that came out and said, like, hey, I everything that I've heard is aligned with this. The other thing, too, is that I spoke to Ryan about this after the fact. Nobody reached out to him or A to Z Sports, who I also work for, and said that anything was inaccurate. Nobody reached out to say that, like, something was misreported. It has been very clear that a lot of the things that he brought up had occurred. And a lot of it was, go ahead, what were you going to say?
Well, hold on. That speaks volumes.
Yes.
Considering the fact that Nico's camp has been continuously doing what they're doing, for them not to go after a post that got like over 500,000 impressions on Twitter.
Yes.
You can't, they didn't attack it because it was the truth, by the way. So continue.
Yes.
Just throwing it out there.
What was the truth in that piece is that they tried to threaten Tennessee essentially after you had brought up they were shopping them in the fall. They threatened Tennessee by saying, if you don't improve the offensive line, we want $4 million. They weren't satisfied with the additions along the offensive line, which they actually had some pretty big names come in. They had Sam Pendleton come in from Notre Dame. We talked about David Sanders coming in from the offensive lineman, the 5-star that's apparently looked amazing in spring ball. That wasn't enough for them. So they went out of their own way without Nico's knowledge of reaching out to schools. Notre Dame wasn't interested. Oregon wasn't interested. Lo and behold, here we are. I think that this claim that they're trying to control the narrative and to say that Nico needed to play somewhere that was going to better prepare him for the NFL is the biggest load of bullshit that we possibly could have heard out of this. We are all not that dumb. Nico's dad and his representative are trying to act like Tennessee was not going to get him to the NFL. Meanwhile, Hendon Hooker was in the Heisman running until he suffered a season-ending injury and would have been a first-round pick. His career hasn't exactly panned out because of said injury. Joe Milton was drafted after Hendon Hooker and was so highly sought after this offseason that he was traded for a third-round pick by the Dallas Cowboys from the New England Patriots. Meanwhile, UCLA is the team that's going to prepare you for the NFL when Deshaun Foster hasn't had a single NFL quarterback that he's been around in his one season as a 5-7 head coach for the Bruins, and Tino Sinceri split play calling duties at Indiana and is now the offensive coordinator full-time for UCLA. We're not this dumb. It is so lame and awful after the crap that they pulled that they completely screwed Nico and ruined his future, that they're trying to make it seem like the money wasn't the biggest problem. It clearly was, and they clearly were being incredibly greedy.
Okay, I got to admit this. I don't think the kid wanted to be there, and I think the only reason that he would have stayed would have been for the money. Because there's no way that you thought on the open market that you were going to get that kind of money. There's no way. Unless they're just that naive. Okay? Joe, he was committed somewhere within a week. And I texted you this and I tweeted this out. All those other schools were bullshit. Yeah. Like I talked to people at Tulane. Remember the story headline on Tuesday morning was that Tulane was in the mix. I called 3 staffers at Tulane. None of them knew that I was calling. Called them all around like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. On vacation, by the way. I was like, y'all going after Nico? They were like, no. I mean, we had a conversation with him, but we're not like actively pursuing him. No. From what I understand from the people out of Tulane in New Orleans was that the kid literally could not talk to a coach without his dad on the line.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, and because every time Tennessee and the Spire group tried to get him to do an NIL thing, he would call his dad and his dad would say, you ain't got to do that. Do you understand how stupid that is? These people are seeing you.
Yes. Yes. Well, that was a big thing that was really surprising that came out of this from other reports was that he kept refusing to hold up his end of the bargain for what he was supposed to do with NIL. I think one of the funniest parts that came out of this, and you tagged me in it, Nick, the father, was so desperate to try and get people on his side that he reached out to, it was like Blue Blood something. It was some
troll account to Boomer Sooner, the Boomer, Big Game Boomer.
Well, it's a dumbass aggregation account that doesn't do its own reporting. That was the source that you trusted to put information about on the situation because no one else trusted you. Right. And it's obvious it wasn't even true.
Yeah, it wasn't even true.
I think
literally when that came out, you're talking about the thing I tagged you in.
Yes.
The reason that I was so confident about the Tulane thing was because I literally called the guy who would be recruiting him literally at 7. Ask anybody. I mean, my children and my wife are staying. I'm on the phone. I'm like, bro, are y'all? And he's like, no, He was like, he literally. This is how I understand it. That they were so cocky in everything that they did. They literally thought that he was going to be. They literally believe that going into next year's draft, that he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. They truly believe that. Now, I will ask you. Let's kind of get on the field here because out of all the chaos and the bullshit, I mean, is UCLA better for this? Do they have the personnel around him? I mean, what does this mean for Nico? And by the way, it's not as if that UCLA didn't even bring in another quarterback. They brought in Joey Aguilar from App State, who was not a bad quarterback. Yeah. So there's a trickle effect here. I guess now on the field, like, what does this even mean? What does this mean for you, I should say?
Well, their best receiver, Sturdivant, left to go to Florida. They don't really have any playmakers that I think are going to be big-time guys that are better than what he was throwing to at Tennessee, and they just made moves this offseason to improve that overall offense. I think the craziest part about all of this is that emphasis by Nick, the father, and everybody that they're trying to prepare themselves better for the NFL. Forget the roster for a second. I had a conversation. I was talking to Ryan about this while this was all going on, and I said to him, I wouldn't be surprised if even this upcoming year, if he has a great season and he plays really well, I wouldn't be surprised if he still falls out of the first round because the NFL does a really detailed job about digging into background information. They do a really detailed job on character. And I don't think that Nico has character issues, but teams don't want to have to deal with the whole BS with a family like this, where they're going to be calling in and making demands. Why would a team draft a player when there's a theoretical risk that the player could hold out on his rookie contract? Like he could demand that the amount that's being given to him isn't enough for the standard of expectation. Like they were willing to hold out in a situation that they shouldn't have. What means that they wouldn't do that in the near future. I just don't think the NFL is going to want to touch him after this.
The only reason that wouldn't happen would be due to the fact if he did go in the first round or the second, that they have the rights for him for, like, I mean, that would be the only reason. And if he goes in the first round, then he's got the fifth-year player or fifth-year option to where, and then they can franchise tag you. So, I mean, like, he could feel like he's got leverage. I don't think he has leverage in the NFL like he does here because there's no repercussions here. Now, you said one thing about we're trying to get to on field, but you said one thing about character that I want to get to. Brother, how many times do I have to talk about quarterbacks and like things that you do that I just don't like? This is one of them. Taking the Instagram, okay, and I don't even know. I know exactly verbatim for what he's trying to say. I don't want my quarterbacks talking about, oh, I'm throwing the game, FQ, like, you know, like all this stupid shit.
Yeah.
Hey, you already have shown that you're unprofessional. Now you go to Instagram and showed you were unprofessional. It's why I didn't like – look, I'm trying to be consistent. It's why I didn't like Caleb Williams. It's why I think he will have struggles. Quite frankly, it's what I didn't like about Shedeur Sanders. It's why I admire guys like Jaden Daniels. It's like why I admire guys – name another one that's come out. It's why I love Bryce Young, to be honest with you. Like when everybody was freaking out about Bryce Young, no, don't freak out about him. He's going to figure it out. When you have those type of dudes, okay, that are professional on the field and off the field, that at that position, leaders of men, now you're going to UCLA. Joe, at the end of the year, I don't think they can beat USC. Like looking at their schedule, I don't think that they can go to Ohio State and win. I don't think that they can go to Indiana and win. I don't think that they can go to Michigan State and win. Okay? And just being blunt, I don't think they can beat Penn State. What is Utah? So, like, right out the gate, I mean, I don't know how much he elevates them. And the stuff around him, okay, like the stuff around him, I don't think is good either. I really think that this kid is going to be, as a talent, I think he's fine. I think he's above average. I mean, he still went 19-5. Like, everybody was trashing him, and I know he didn't play great in his first year. He wasn't trash. Like, the way that we're describing him, okay, we gotta put our hands up for just a moment. The kid was not trash like we try to paint him. Go ahead.
Well, the problem with that is statistically, of all the quarterbacks, he's the most gifted that Josh Heupel has had. But statistically, he was the worst.
Yes.
No, but statistically, he had the worst quarterback season under Josh Heupel. The worst season.
I mean, the only other one that I could think, and I know that you're saying physically, I mean, he did have Dylan Gabriel. And I know physically you say that the kid's small in stature. Gabriel made every throw. Look, man.
I'm trying to see if I can find I had it bookmarked, the stats.
Who, Nico's?
No. His stats compared to like all the other Heupel quarterbacks. I don't have it bookmarked.
While you're looking that up, all I would say here is this. Okay, I do think that he can work himself into that, and maybe being on the West Coast where he's from, maybe they can take a little bit step back from that. Right? Maybe because UCLA is not going to be in the spotlight of the SEC, a team that's going to try to run and make a playoff, maybe the spotlight gets off of him. And it probably was too much. But I will tell you this. This kid has had more than this problem. Again, it was about the money when the booster flew out a private jet to go pick up his ass. Okay? He's been an issue. So I don't know if he's going to stop just being an issue. And he's talking, he calls out Josh Payton his Instagram. He didn't name him by name, but saying I was trying to play. Brother, he never said that. Never, not once did Josh ever say that you tried to throw a playoff game. What he said was, and which has been confirmed,
tried to hold out,
is that
multiple people refuted this take. By the way, this wasn't just Josh saying shit. Multiple people.
No, he was the first one that came out. But then when he came out with it, I mean, everybody's like, no. And listen, there's one thing that I know about being in this business. When everybody's agreeing on everything,
it's a problem.
It's a problem. It more than likely, like a 98% chance that it happened, the probability. Here's what I want to ask you too. Joey Aguilar from App State went there. Now the kid had a off year, but so did App State. But in 2023, he damn near threw for 4,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, 63% completion percentage. Did have 10 interceptions. He had 14 this year too. So he's got a turnover problem. But what does this kid do? I mean, they advised him today that he's coming. I mean, what does this kid do? I mean, I would hit the portal if I'm him.
I think he is. I think that was the latest report that his representation's looking. They're going to go and look and see if they can find somewhere else to take him. And if you're a quarterback who started and has that much production, you're going to get sought after. I sincerely doubt
24 interceptions in 2 years would scare. I mean, like, I understand. Listen, from a UCLA perspective, Nico's ceiling is 10 times higher. Right? Yeah. Like, I mean,
Elch brings up a really funny point here. What if he goes to Tennessee? that Tennessee should do that. That'd be really funny if
we're going to get to an ad break, and we're going to talk about Steve Angeli. Look, I do think that they're on a – look, this – let's talk about Tennessee, too, before we wrap up. I know that this is a long segment. I know that everybody is on Tennessee's side right now. Let's talk about the truth. No. Tennessee is not better off for this season. Not yet. Because did you see that spring game? Did you see what happened at quarterback? I mean, everybody's like, oh, this kid's going to be better than – come on. You're going to have to run out of true freshmen. So for this season, long term, you might be okay. This season, you're not. I don't think that you will be. They got to go find a quarterback too. Like, let's not. Everybody I feel like everybody's acting like Tennessee's just going to be fine. I don't want to go there. I mean, like Nico still led him to a playoff, okay? Like, are you expecting a true freshman kid and George McIntyre to come in here and based off of what you saw at a spring game, a kid can barely throw it 27 yards? Are we going to act like that this kid can lead them to where they want to go? Let's not do that either.
They've got Merklinger as well, who I think that might be the expectation for who starts for them. And we talked a little bit about how we basically knew nothing about Merklinger coming into the spring game when all this had happened, when we had taped that segment and posted it in the midst of all this. I still really think their starter is going to come from the portal, and there's not a lot of sexy options. Joey Aguilar is one that we're kind of laughing about. Like, if that was what the swap was, and if Aguilar played better than Nico, it'd be even funnier. And we're going to talk about Steve Angeli being an option. There are options. There aren't great options. Part of me does wonder, as the portal window just opened up, if said player has not entered the portal yet. We all know tampering happens. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see someone of a relatively big name coming from a decent program doesn't enter the portal if Tennessee doesn't try to push them to do so.
Or do they go on a small little rebuild? I mean, they're losing a lot on defense. They're losing their running game. They're losing their best defensive weapon. I don't know what they do. Tennessee is fascinating to watch what's going to happen there. But yes, I do agree that there's definitely you got to get one of them. Why wouldn't you? Right? Like, why wouldn't you
try?
Right. Try. Like, by the way, hold on now. You got $2 million to work with.
Right. And what's been pitched out there, Avery Johnson, Kevin Jennings, who we've talked really highly of SMU, is kind of like hey, maybe you can convince him to leave. Again, there's not like a lot of like enticing names that are at programs that wouldn't have the money to just match whatever offer Tennessee throws out there.
Hold on. I don't want that to happen now. I don't want.
Well, but we both know that's going to happen. Like, we both know that that's very strong possibility.
Well, and listen, it goes to the point that I made on last Sunday's show. I know it was recorded, but whatever. So literally more than a week ago we had this conversation. The kid trend set it twice, meaning Nico. Because if Tennessee pulls a kid that's a starter at another premier school, yeah, brother, it's gonna be a frenzy, because then everybody will do it. Everybody will do that. Like, if my quarterback has his bad spring, I'll just throw out my team, the team that I cover but am a fan of. What stops LSU from going out there and offering Avery Johnson $1 million the following year? You get what I'm saying? Like what
But I just think that already happens. Like I think that already
name that happens.
I don't have sourcing on that. Like
No.
no.
Not about sourcing. I'm talking about reality. Name a starting quarterback that's literally been sitting and has been a starter established that a team that didn't have a quarterback just went out there and paid for. It has not happened.
Well, I'm just trying to think if there's an example of. I think it happens at other positions. Like I think at other positions, we don't know of the conversation and the offer being made before the player enters the portal. But there's plenty of examples that we could sit here and speculate and say that probably was the case where a player happened to hop in the portal and very quickly made a decision on where they were going.
We could say Carson Beck would be the place that I thought you would go, but the kid had a UCL tear. He had Tommy John.
Also going to go. Well, Beck and Cam Ward were the first two that popped in my head, but then they were both in the same boat where they were going to go to the NFL draft and were going to probably get drafted later than they were hoping, and decided to go back to school and get an offer to go play somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there.